everybody. This is Carla, and this time I'm back with a review for episode 20 of season 4 of the TNT show Major Crimes. This episode is titled Hindsight Part 2. And I have to say, again, like I said on the last episode, I really like that they're doing this 5-arc thing with this Hindsight storyline. I think it's a very interesting one. It's a very complex one, and it touches on a lot of themes. This episode, however, wasn't my favorite. I think I liked the first one much better. That might just be because I'm more of a fan of setup than I am of resolution. Not that we got any real resolution in this episode, but it felt like they didn't do as much setup as they did in the first one. So that kind of wasn't as interesting to me. I didn't really care much for what was happening in the episode up until the fight between Tao and Hickman, because that scene was awesome. I mean, we never get to see Tao lose his mind in any capacity, and it was really cool to see him taunting Hickman and just fighting with him and actually bringing him down to the ground and demanding an apology from him. I thought it was really awesome. I really loved that scene, and I kind of loved the fact that Hickman is really calculating until you get him mad, and the more you get him mad, the more he lets things slip. It's interesting because it's something you see all the time in these procedural shows with criminals. It's the more you rile them up, the more they screw up and make mistakes, and that's how they get caught. It's interesting that this time it's Hickman, and he was a former police officer. I'm not entirely convinced that he's not a killer, but that he's not a criminal. But I don't necessarily think that he's involved in these killings. At least in these particular ones, I don't think. I think he did commit perjury, of course, and I think he did plant the gun, honestly, because I'm not entirely convinced that Emil Fisher actually did anything. I don't think he did anything. I just think he's protecting someone. I don't know who he's protecting, though. That's going to be interesting to see. I am not entirely convinced that Price did anything, nor his brother. I mean, they seem really... I mean, they might be dealing drugs, I guess, but I don't necessarily think that they killed Tamika either. Although I do think that they killed the cop. At least the first one, the first murder. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's really... The storyline itself is really interesting. But I like the first one better than the second one because it was more set up. Now, I'm not entirely sure why Hickman hasn't sold Amy out yet. Because obviously Tao knows that something's going on there. But he hasn't said anything. But I would guess it's out of loyalty, of course, to Amy. I was hoping they would have a conversation about Hickman in this episode, but it didn't happen, so I'm hoping it happens in the next one. But I'm not entirely sure why Hickman himself hasn't sold her out yet. I mean, obviously he's sick and tired of the cops of the Major Crimes division coming after him, so why wouldn't he just sell her out? It's one less thing to worry about, right? So I'm not sure. I don't know why he's keeping silent about that. With the reveal that his wife was a cop, and the reveal that he was sleeping with the district attorney, the deputy district attorney, I am more convinced than ever now that his wife has something to do with this. The murder. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure that she's got anything to do with the original murder of the police officer. I doubt she's in that. And I'm not entirely sure that she's had anything to do with Tamika's murder. I think maybe Tamika might be the third person. Who knows? But I don't think she has anything to do with it. I do think she has something to do, or she probably was the one who killed the district attorney and her bodyguard. Out of jealousy, I would expect. And I think that would make the case even more interesting because we're all here presuming that the same person killed all 4 people. It might just be different people. It might just be that, Hickman had the gun all along, and at some point his wife took it and used it to kill the defense attorney and the bodyguard. And maybe, to get suspicion off of him, Hickman, kept the gun and now planted it in Price's church so that he could implicate Price. So I'm probably going to be wrong because I tend to be wrong about these things, but I think it's a really interesting plot line. I thought the whole thing with Julio and the narcotics girl, the widow, was kind of weird. I don't know, I don't really see any chemistry between them. I thought it all happened, way too suddenly. Oh, there's this attraction between them. Where the hell did that come from? I get that they can relate to each other with the whole, that husband/wife thing. But that can only get you so far, really, right? So I hope, if they're planning on there being a relationship between these two, that they kind of, make it a bit more organic, because as of right now, I just don't really buy it. Not really. Speaking of husbands and wives, yay, Provenza! I am so happy that they actually brought up again the fact that Provenza is getting married. I had totally forgotten about that, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, that's right, they're totally getting married. I love Provenza. And I love, his girlfriend's name. I keep forgetting. Charlotte? What? No. I really love them together, so I really do hope we get to see his wedding. That will be interesting. As for the Rusty subplot, I really liked it in the previous episode, but this time I didn't like it as much. Gus wasn't around, so that might be a factor, because I really love seeing the two of them together. But mostly it's the fact that, once again, Rusty's doing the same thing all over again. When is he going to learn that it's just better to come to Sharon with these things? Come on. How many times does bad crap have to happen to you, Rusty, until you figure out that you tell Sharon first? It's like, ugh. I'm kind of feeling guilty about his mother, though, because if she got kidnapped by this Gary dude and hurt, I'm gonna feel really bad, because I just wanted her to be out of the picture, entirely. And now I kind of feel guilty, because if she did manage to turn her life around only to be dragged back into it by Gary, man, I'm gonna feel really bad for her. I hope she doesn't die. I don't know. Part of me hopes that she dies just because the drama would be so juicy. And I would love to see the acting that would come out of that. But at the same time, I don't want her to die, because I love Rusty and I don't want him to suffer. It was good seeing Detective Cooper back. I kept wondering if he's still dating Amy. Because, I like him. And it's good to see him around, but they didn't interact at all, so I'm, really curious. I know it doesn't have any bearing on the actual plot, but I'm just really curious for some reason. And yeah, overall, it was an okay episode. I still like the previous one better because of all the setup, but I think this raised some questions that I'm really interested in. Some things they're doing right, some things are maybe a little bit obvious. If they turn out to be that way, of course. It might be that I just think they're obvious and they're totally fooling me. So who knows, but it was an okay episode, and I think they're really doing a good thing with this huge story arc that they're just doing in 5 episodes. It's a good story. It has me hooked, it has me interested, and it's probably going to do a lot to the characters. We've already seen a different side of Tao. We're already starting to see a different side of Amy. So that's gonna be interesting to see. I do, however, love my setup more than I do the continuity of that setup. So yeah, I still like the first episode more But that doesn't mean that this one was bad. It was really interesting, especially once Tao and Hickman had their confrontation, because that was, for me, seriously the best part of the episode by far. Tao was fantastic, okay? I loved him in that scene. I mean, he's always great, but I really liked him in that scene. So, yeah, that's about it from me today. As usual, be sure to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We have reviews not just for the previous episodes of Major Crimes, but also other TV shows, books, movies, games. We have a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to visit and check it out. And also, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as that is the fastest way to be updated on when we upload anything new. Even before they hit the website, our reviews are usually up on YouTube before. So if you don't want to miss anything, then you want to subscribe to our channel, because that's the fastest way to be notified whenever anything new hits the web. And that's it for me now. I will see you guys in my next review. Bye.